So we've talked a lot about different class setups that will absolutely allow you to thrive within Black Ops 4, some weapons that are super overpowered, some things like we talked about before, the ICR with Grip 2 is just insanely nuts, but those are all relatively well-known things within the Call of Duty community right now. So I decided while going for some headshots and all that kind of stuff to play around with some new weaponry outside of just your standard ICR, Maddox, and weapons like that are just guaranteed to do well in the right hands. What about some of the other weapons though that you might not think all that much about? What about the things that are the weapons that people may only really go for in terms of using headshot challenges as that catalyst for picking it up, or whatever the reasoning may be, but they're still not the most meta weapons? Then I want to talk to you guys about what I think is without a doubt one of the most underrated weapons within Call of Duty Black Ops 4. In hardcore or core, it will absolutely shred. There are some caveats within some things that are the kind of downfall of it, but overall, if you can manage those, it's absolutely a fantastic weapon. Today we're going to be talking about the Augur Dmr. So while we can't break down the weapon statistically because that information just hasn't been posted out there in the general public just yet, pretty sure it's out there and available in the PC game files. I don't know if it's actually been pulled up yet at the moment, but still right now it's not something that is relatively known. The exact damage per shot that it has, the damage fall-offs, all those other things that you require the actual statistical data for, we can't really talk about those, but we can talk about how good it is compared to other weapons. Being a tactical rifle, something that is semi-auto and not a full auto weapon, it does have a little bit more damage naturally as it sacrifices fire rate and a little bit of mobility compared to say your Maddox or your Vapor or even your ICR. So this weapon rewards accuracy with that extra added damage. The range seems absolutely brilliant. Of course, you can add things like long barrel that will extend that max damage range drop off so that you end up having even better of a time, but in hardcore or in core, it's a beast of a weapon. Hardcore, obviously, it's a one shot because you only have 30 HP in hardcore, and also whenever you come into core, it seems like it's right around the 60 damage per shot, which relatively makes it a 3-shot, 2-shot with headshots. So damage-wise, it's absolutely fantastic, but again, when we talk about some of the downfalls of the weapon where it kind of levels out and why it may be a little underrated and why people may not like to use it, again, mobility is low. It's something that it doesn't have quick draw, it doesn't have stock, so you're a little more bulky compared to other weapons you may end up using within the game, and going really hard in the enemy's area can get a little tougher without those things that allow you to be quick and fast moving. So unfortunately, all you have on offer for the Augur Dmr comes down to some optics, which there's not an ELO. ELO is still my favorite by far within Black Ops 4 and even Black Ops 3, but you end up having things like your high caliber 1 and 2, you end up having your FMJ 1 and 2, your laser sight, and things like that. So it does help out a little bit when you put on fast mags, high caliber 1 and 2, and FMJ is great as well because it shreds through the armor without really having to worry about it being too much of a hindrance in a gunfight, because that can be life or death. So when you factor all these things in together and then take into account that this is the default tactical rifle, well, you can play around with this and do quite well for yourself right off the bat. Sure, you may have your preferences of, again, say things like the Maddox, the KN, the ICR, the Vapor, but this is still a very formidable weapon as well. So when we talk about what this will do well with, there are a few classes that I was running around here with this, primarily just revolving around a few attachments on the Augur. Of course, the supporting cast of perks and also what you use for your gear is important as well, but we don't max out the Augur Dmr in terms of all 6 attachments with 1 reticle and 5 weapon attachments. Instead, we're gonna run 1 optic and then 3 attachments, 2 of which are actually tier 1 and 2. So for that, we're gonna end up running the reflex sight on this because I'm not a huge fan of the base optic on the Augur Dmr. The reflex gives me a little bit more pinpoint precise accuracy, I think. I'd still prefer the ELO, but that's not offered on the Augur. Along with that, we also run FMJ, which again will pierce through enemy rounds in terms of the armor. You can use FMJ too if you want to do a little bit more damage if you're going for that first shot on the body, which does help expedite you getting the kill. But the other 2 things I think are a little bit more important, that being high caliber 1 and high caliber 2. So high caliber allows you to get increased damage to headshots, but then also high caliber 2 allows that extra multiplier to extend down more so into the body, where you get increased damage for the upper chest as well. So while it's great to get headshots and all, and it'll help you get challenges and everything like that, a lot of the times you might not aim high enough in order to do that. So with high caliber 2, it extends that same multiplier of a headshot down just a little bit further so that if you end up hitting upper chest or say your torso, you have a better shot on that second shot, especially to kick up and get a secondary multiplier on that headshot multiplier. So definitely very useful here in that sense. Whenever we end up using our gear, I've kind of been recently straying away from stim shot, something that at the very beginning of the game I was really dependent upon, but now I've moved over more so into the acoustic sensor. And this comes into handy not only whenever you play hardcore and you don't have a minimap, but you also have that Sixth Sense style of minimap awareness with the acoustic sensor in core modes. So it allows you to have a more heads up approach, and it actually gives you a decent distance between you and the enemy that it'll pick them up. You can be well away from somebody and you'll still pick them up on your acoustic sensor on your minimap, and you don't have to be right on top of them. That's one of the notions that I initially had whenever I jumped in with the acoustic sensor, but it definitely is a lot more helpful than I previously imagined. As for perks, I end up running Scavenger, Gung Ho, and Dead Silence. Scavenger, obviously, because I like to stay alive, I'd like to have my ammo. Gung Ho allows you to end up firing your weapon and use equipment while sprinting and recover from sprint faster, and you also move at full speed while reloading, which is key to me. I recently turned off the ability to reload while sprinting because I like to cancel reload sometimes to get out of a bind or to get back into a gunfight faster, and sprint sometimes just really took you out of that opportunity. So with Gung Ho, it allows you to still reload at a faster pace, but you can still cancel reload as well. And Dead Silence obviously is absolutely massive because you don't hear yourself and the enemy doesn't hear you as well, unless they do have that counter of the acoustic sensor, which, getting into the hardcore play of this, one shot and Dead Silence is absolutely fantastic because if you end up using a headset, you can hear the enemies coming from a mile away and get ready, and with the gun being bulkier and doesn't have that stock attachment where you can end up pre-aiming corners and still moving at regular speed, it's definitely important to have your gun up and ready to go in that situation. So Dead Silence really helps out in that case as well. And the final rounding out portion here of this is of course just Primary Gunfighter 1, which allows us to take that extra attachment like we previously mentioned. Now if you're not a huge fan of that specific setup, of course you can end up doing a little bit more with different things. Before this class setup in particular, I was running around with a little bit of the long barrel as well as fast mags, getting a little bit of a hang on that, but I found that I liked the high caliber and the extended headshot damage that it allotted as a result. But fast mags of course allows you to reload faster, and long barrel increases that damage fall off at ranges, which in hardcore really isn't all that important because it's a one shot at almost any range if I'm not mistaken. I can't say that I went literally end to end of the map and there's any lines of sight that are like that, but any long range distance gunfight, it was still a one shot with that. So in terms of hardcore, you won't really need it. In core, it can help out greatly, but it really all comes down to your own personal preference. Fast mags, if you are one of those people that likes to get in and get out and has an insane trigger finger and can bob and weave through everybody, that'll definitely help as well whenever you try and reload because it almost doubles the speed at which you reload. Now the final thing that I will mention here in this video before we wrap it up is the play styles that I would recommend here for this. Now, it's not an SMG and it's not like some of the ARs where you can get right into the thick of it, go in and go up against a 1v4. That's probably not gonna work. I know that you can pull off some nice little quads in hardcore, and I think I even did so in core at one point with this, but whenever you end up taking a look at some of the things that are available in terms of this playstyle, I'd more so say like an anchor position. If you're playing hardpoint, one thing that always comes to my mind is that back slums hardpoint anchor, where you end up jumping in and you can control that, and with a rifle like the Augur Dmr, it's just ridiculously good. You can end up playing those, you can hold the angles for flags, you can hold them for spawns, but you can also be mobile with it as well. One thing that I will say though, playing from a little bit of experience, is that I feel like if you're one of those people that jump shot or drop shot, the first shot and second shot sometimes don't register how you think they would. It looks almost like you're on target, but I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like when you're in that motion, it definitely throws off the aim in which your reflex is showing is gonna go one way, it'll actually go the other. I don't know if I'm crazy on that one, but it's something that from playing around with it for the past day and a half on end now, it is that consistent question mark where I wonder sometimes how I died as of those situations. But I guess I'll never know, but keep that in mind if you're going in and jumping into those gunfights like that. But other than that, it's just a fantastic weapon here that I think you guys can definitely thrive with. And again, off the beaten path a little bit, I know that people have made videos on the Augur, I know that people have talked about it, but relatively I still think is underrated in the grand scheme of the weaponry. Because as you probably see, the meta weapons right now are that ICR with grip 2, that Maddox, that Vapor sometimes, the SOG 9mm dual wield. Those are the weapons that you'll probably run into a lot. But I can't say that out of all my games played this past couple of days and over the past week, I've run into the Augur all that much. Honestly, whenever I started using the Augur, I think that's when I saw more people bust out an Augur to try and counter me with the same weapon. So in that sense, maybe I am alone in this notion of thinking, but maybe I'm not. But whatever way you want to spin it, definitely give it a try because I think you can do well with it here. So that said, I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up with this one. Just want to let you guys know about a weapon that I think is relatively, again, off the beaten path and you can totally do well with, and maybe even chip away at some of the headshot challenges for gold, diamond, or dark matter camo if you're going for that. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Have you guys played with this? Do you guys enjoy the weapon? Do you like the class setup that we recommended here? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. But all that said and out of the way, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure you drop a like down below. If you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops 4, multiplayer, blackout, zombies, best tips, tricks, news, information, updates, all that good stuff. We got you covered here up on the channel with all that. So if you want to stay up to date with any of it, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing. If you guys also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, practically live on both those, and they're the best places to get connecting outside of YouTube, so check them out, link in the description below if you guys want to do so. But with that said, thank you guys so much for watching. Mine is an Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care, and peace.